So, folks, you are all familiar with the Heritage Foundation, yes? You know, the one of the evil think tanks of Washington D.C. that basically bends every neuron in their employees' brains towards the idea of making life a living hell for every normal person in America, and especially if you're gay or, trans. You're all aware of this? Well, meet one Jessica Rydell, who got on social media yesterday and posted, "Quick update, my name has changed from Brian Rydell to Jessica Rydell. Fear not, my focus on rapid response, center-right economic policy and cool budget charts won't change. Link below will be my only comment and explanation on this. Back to policy." And, yep, look at that, a little trans flag right there. A little pride progress flag. Good for you, Jessica Rydell. I'm really glad that you are living your truth and are, able to be yourself. That is great. That being said, you work for an organization that literally hates queer people. It is insane. It is insane. Let me just Google something real quick. Anyway, here's an article from GLAAD in 2023 about the Heritage Foundation. Let's see. Heritage stated support for freedom and limited government does not extend to LGBTQ Americans, as evidenced by decades of waging losing battles against LGBTQ military service, LGBTQ Boy Scouts and leaders, marriage equality, protections against discrimination for LGBTQ workers, LGBTQ parents, bans on conversion therapy, evidence-based healthcare for transgender youth, supporting bans on LGBTQ inclusive books, curriculum, and books about racism, wrote about coordinated copycat state legislation targeting gender-affirming care for transgender youth. Every major medical organization supports gender-affirming care as evidence-based, safe, and life-saving. Supports groups such as Moms for Liberty, who seek to ban books, target guidelines to protect students' freedom to dress the way they wish and access the bathroom according to the gender they identify with, and have called school board meetings school board members pedophiles while posting private information to encourage online and real-life harassment. Criticized corporations honoring Pride Month in 2021. Falsely claimed children were being targeted with inappropriate content, such as cereal box and Lego sets. Supported state bills targeting transgender youth participation in sports, falsely claiming, "I think the ultimate outcome will be to protect women and girls. Equal opportunities." An AP investigation found the bill sponsors could not cite as an instance of transgender participation ever being an issue in their states. Falsely claimed in March 2021 that the Equality Act will demolish civil rights and constitutional freedoms. The Equality Act offers comprehensive protections against discrimination for every LGBTQ American and expands existing civil rights for people of faith and all women. Criticized the 2020 U.S. Supreme Court Bostock ruling, expanding civil rights employment protections to LGBTQ workers, inaccurately claiming the word sex will still today, as when Congress passed the Civil Rights Act in 1964, refers to our biological reality as male or female. It does not refer to our sexual orientations or malleable gender identities as some see it. Reiterated opposition in 2018 to the expansion of anti-discrimination laws to elevate sexual orientation and gender identity as protected classes. 79% of Americans support laws protecting LGBTQ people from discrimination as of March 2022. Defended the Boy Scouts of America's right to discriminate. And I'm not going to read all that. Claimed in 2008, "It's time to hold accountable those lawmakers who have opened the door for this court ruling by trying to appease homosexual rights activists with laws that allow civil unions. You cannot have peace at any price with those who seek to conquer and vanquish our values." In 2013, falsely claimed same-sex marriage never will be widely accepted in America for a simple reason: it's based on a lie. More than 300,000 couples have wed since marriage equality was legalized in 2015. A May 2022 poll shows that only 26% think same-sex marriage should be illegal in America. Basically claimed in 2003, Americans are once again drawing the line in the sand between the recent legalization of same-sex marriage in Vermont and Canada, the Supreme Court ruling in Lawrence v. Texas that struck down the state's sodomy law, the opening of the high school of a high school for gay students in New York City and the decisions by the Episcopal Church to approve a gay bishop and allow gay marriages, Americans are saying they have had enough. As of June 2021, support for marriage equality is at a record high of 70%. Falsely claimed marriage equality will harm children. Opposed ban on discredited and dangerous so-called conversion therapy practices. Claimed that transgender identity and issues became something that most Americans had never heard of. To a cause claiming the mantle of civil rights. Falsely claimed a resurgence of gender-affirming procedures. Not in light of new scientific evidence, mind you, but as a result of growing ideological movement. Baselessly supported rejecting transgender people from serving in the military. Opposed Don't Ask, Don't Tell in 1993. And anyway, yes, my name has changed. I am transgender and I work at the Heritage Foundation. Fuck you. Like fuck you. Just like straight up. That's collaboration is bullshit. You've been working for years with a group that is explicitly dedicated to eliminating people like you. Fuck you. Fuck you for making a career throwing us all under the bus. Fuck you. Fuck you. Okay? Like, you do not deserve to have a pride flag on your Substack to announce you're coming out. Fuck you. You have shit and pissed on that flag every single goddamn day. And you've done it for an organization that wants to make sure you're shitting and pissing on that flag in the men's room. Like, fuck you. Like, Jesus Christ. And, like, at the same time, it's just like, I'm glad you can live your truth, but at the same time, you're working for an organization that has been against all kinds of gender-affirming procedures, and you're writing in your article, I've unmistakably known I was transgender since the age of 4. Medical scans and examinations have since confirmed my predominantly female brain biology, along with other biological characteristics that have countered my outwardly male appearance. And it's just like, fuck you. Like, 1000%, this bitch is one of those people who's like, I actually have a female brain. I am actually a real trans woman as opposed to a fake trans woman because my brain is more female than other people's brains. Fuck you. While I've been myself with family and close friends, I've essentially had to roleplay a different gender professionally. Yeah. In the workplace where they fucking hate you if you're trans. Are you surprised that you got old after you went to the beach that makes you old? I'm not an activist. I'm more moderate on transgender policy issues. And let me tell you something. You are not moderate on transgender policy issues if you work for the fucking Heritage Foundation. All right? You are not a moderate. Like I'm sorry, you can't be like, "Oh, well, I'm moderate on the Jewish question while working for the fucking Nazis." Fuck you. All right? Jesus. Piece of shit. I'm also not naive about the intense abuse and demonization my community endures from politicians, demagogues, and bullies who defend themselves by dismissing transgenderism, as well as some made-up mental delusion with no legitimate biological basis. Too many adults still cling to their 10th grade biology teacher's purposely oversimplified summary that XX versus XY chromosomes cleanly determines all subsequent male or female biological and gender development. Students who continue in biology and related fields learn that each person's genes contain a full blueprint for both male and female development, and while the vast majority of humans still develop Bitch, you work for an organization's that sole purpose on LGBTQ issues is to get people to ignore facts about it. If I rolled my eyes as hard as my body wants me to right now, they detach from my skull. That said, working in conformity-obsessed politics, I'm resigned to some insults and reduced opportunities to share my economic policy analysis, even among those who otherwise decry cancel culture. But being in the out group is nothing new. Growing up in 1980s northern Wisconsin as an awkward kid trying to act naturally male, I was bullied and beaten so badly and so frequently for so long that my family eventually had to sell our house and move to a new school district. And then you sided with an organization that was the bedrock of those people's ideology. The same people who beat you had the ideology that the Heritage Foundation mainstreams. You work for the people who have ensured that current children get beaten and bloodied so badly. Jesus! It's infuriating. Like, can I pull something up here? Just as an FYI here, here is the Heritage Foundation in 2010, advocating against the Matthew Shepard Hate Crimes Prevention Act of 2009. Now, for those of you who don't know who Matthew Shepard was, Matthew Shepard was a young gay man who was basically beaten and crucified on the side of a road in the middle of nowhere and left to bleed and freeze to death. It was national news and a huge deal. This organization testified against that bill. They actively used their political capital in Congress to oppose a bill to essentially codify protections for LGBTQ people. Yeah. They opposed it. Now, luckily, this did get enacted. And what does it do? The bill removes, in the case of hate crimes related to race, color, religion, origin, national origin of the victim, the prerequisite that the victim be engaging in federally protected activity like voting or going to school, gives federal authorities greater ability to engage in hate crimes investigations that local authorities choose not to pursue, provides $5 million per year in funding for the fiscal years 2010 through 2012 to help state and local agencies pay for investigating and prosecuting hate crimes, and requires the Federal Bureau of Investigation to track statistics on hate crimes based on gender and gender identity. And this came, of course, after 11 years of activism from Matthew Shepard's family and LGBTQ activists. So the Heritage Foundation fought this tooth and nail. And it's infuriating, you know? Like, you work for the organization that wanted like the beating and lynching of gay and trans people to be like covered up. Like, that was what the Heritage Foundation fought for. They fought to ensure the ability to cover up the hate crimes that were done to you and to people who weren't lucky enough to survive those hate crimes. This stubborn resolve came in handy in 2001 when, as an unknown 26-year-old economist, I was hired at a leading conservative think tank and expected to keep my head down and support the home team. Instead, my relentless highlighting of Bush's soaring budget deficits earned a briefing and communications ban from the Bush White House, a near termination of my nascent DC think tank career, and years later, complete vindication to the point that Bush's own OMB director would recruit me to become his chief economist during his 2010 election to the US Senate. And throughout 23 years in Washington, my nonpartisan, data-heavy, inconvenient economic truths have consistently drawn the ire of White Houses, lawmakers, speech audiences, television interviews, and Twitter mobs from across the political spectrum. As long as my economic information is correct and presented respectfully, then other people's response to it, or to my gender, is their problem. And the issue here is that you are fucking wrong. They're going in Donald Trump's America, in the conservative regime you have helped prop up, both directly and indirectly with your work, they're going to make it your problem. The same way they are making it every single person in America's problem. Like, I'm sorry, the age of like I'm fiscally conservative but moderate socially is long gone. You don't get that. You don't have a place anymore. Okay? Like, you also don't get to play that card when you work for one of the most virulent anti-LGBT organizations in the country. I I'm sorry. You don't get to do that. I mean, obviously you get to come out, but like I don't I suspect it's not going to last that long. I suspect there's going to be a little bit of a honeymoon because you've got folks here on Twitter like Scott Hodge. Jessica Rydell was my successor at the Heritage Foundation and did much more insightful work then, and still does, than I ever did. Too bad it wasn't appreciated back then, but we can now, and I'm pleased to call her a dear friend. And it's like, we got like conservative folks coming out congratulating Jessica, and that's lovely. But also, they are going to throw her under the bus so goddamn hard. And like, it's really not that difficult to see based on like, the Twitter replies. You've worked for an organization, Jessica, that its entire existence has opposed the existence of people like you and propped up the ideologies of people like this. It's deeply sad. It is deeply sad that you have given your life to supporting people like this. Because these people are the ones your ideology has fostered, and your economic theory is not separable from the anti-LGBTQ ideas that your organization espouses. You can try to say that for you personally, you compartmentalize and these two things are separate all you want, that's fine. But in the wider world, you've supported the marriage of these two things. You helped create a monster, and that monster seeks to destroy you and all of us. And there's something deeply sad about that, and you don't see it yet. But Jessica, you will. And I'm, as furious as I am, I feel for you, because finding out is not going to be fun.